thank you for hosting. Maura, thank you for organizing. Thanks to the other folks in the host committee. Sue Mullen, who is here. I think this is the first of 2 events that you have to go to tonight.
Only 2 tonight.
Only 2. Fantastic.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle. Lisa Nash was here. I don't know where Lisa is. She's hiding in the back. Another fantastic state rep candidate. Shayna and Katie, the great folks from the Bedford Democrats, are here. And I believe actually that reminds me that there were 2 birthdays. I think it's interesting because I believe both Shayna and Maura are both turning 21 today. So, is it your birthday? Wow.
It was yesterday.
Yesterday. Okay.
Yeah.
So lots of birthdays. A special. Thank you for coming to their birthday party. We would have had more people if that's how we announced it.
2 other state candidates here.
Oh, who else is here?
Tony and Catherine.
And Jerry.
Hi, Greg.
See you there.
Like, the gang is all here.
The gang is all
Right,
here.
right.
Well, that's fantastic, and it's always a lot of fun. If you want to see us hang out together again, come to the Bedford Dump on our transfer station. It's very famous. On Saturday, you'll see us. And lastly, I'll just say thank you very much to Maura. You've been really, I've run into a lot of people who said, you know what, most candidates, when they don't win a primary, they kind of just go back to their business. And everyone has been, saying, wow, you've really kept going with such tremendous force. And to me, it's completely unsurprising, because I remember that you were a Marine, and I feel like that's just exactly what a Marine would do in this situation. So thank you so much for what you have done. So I know some of you guys, I don't know other of you, so I'll just talk a little bit about my background. I currently, as Senator Hassan just said, and I'll say, a lot of the lessons that I learned about public service and how to be a good citizen servant come from the chances that I got to engage with you while you were governor. One of the organizations that I helped start was this thing called Stay Work Play, which is committed to recruiting and retaining the next generation of New Hampshire workers. And every year, we got a chance to go in and have one meeting with the governor, and you were there every single year for us, asking us questions, learning about things like commuter rail, learning about the work that we were doing, and it was really so powerful to have your support during that period. And I think it's an important issue, one that you've worked a lot on, and certainly guided me in this continuing view that I could support the community in other ways besides just serving a nonprofit board. So to talk about where I am today, I'm working with Dean Kamen on the Advanced Regenerative Manufacturing Institute, which is a really exciting program that leverages $80 million federal dollars that we thank you for helping us secure to develop a new biotech manufacturing industry in the United States, specifically here in Manchester. And what we're doing is we're trying to take that $80 million and get all of the biologists that have made these miracles happen in Petri dishes, like you talked about, taking your very own, and actually there's one more person that I just saw in the back, Tara, thank you for being here. My wife, Tara, who is amazingly found a babysitter, so unless the boys are here too. So I work with Dean Kamen on this project, and we're very excited about it. We've grown tremendously since we launched about 18 months ago. We've moved 2 companies into Manchester that are associated with the effort, and it really is just unbelievably exciting on 2 fronts. One is what you talked about with the potential therapeutic impact and cost savings that we could generate from engineered tissues and organs. And the second one is really what it could do for Manchester, right? I was really thrilled. One of my significant corporate positions before working at Army was at a company called Dime, which is a software company in Manchester that I helped grow from 15 to around 500 as its chief operating officer. And the exciting part about that was we got to plant a flag in the ground that said the IT industry expands from Boston and comes all the way up to New Hampshire. And now there's a big Oracle sign that you can see from 293 that says technology lives here. And if we think that the Boston ecosystem for IT is big, it's small compared to what is going on there for biotech. So if we can start to be part of that larger biotech ecosystem, it is really going to be a tremendous economic opportunity for for our state. So before that, I was a lawyer for a little bit. I grew up in Canterbury, New Hampshire. And my time in Canterbury growing up, and really the experience with the way that my father engaged in public service is really what led me to the decision to get involved this year. So I grew up in Canterbury. My dad was a state rep for a little while. He was the founder of New Hampshire Public Radio, and was really committed to being an active citizen, because what he said is that the way New Hampshire works is when people volunteer. That's the way that we do it here. We don't pay taxes to have other people do it. We do it ourselves. And so, I grew up in Canterbury. I went to Belmont High School for 2 years, my freshman and sophomore year, and then I graduated from Bishop Brady in Concord, which was a great school, and I had a fabulous time there. But the reason I switched was not because we wanted to, it was because my dad got a letter when I was a sophomore. And it said that Shaker Regional had not built a school in over 50 years. And that because of that, they were about to lose accreditation. So my diploma, my high school diploma, and all of my peers, that diploma would not be good to get into college, because it has to be accredited for you to be able to use that diploma to get into college. And so he said, you know what, I don't want to risk it. I want you to have that opportunity, and I graduated from Bishop Brady. But the thing that he did next, right, that is what separates, I think, the politics that I believe in versus the politics that we see too often. And instead of saying, like our current education commissioner, that we should voucherize education, that we should suck money out of it and redistribute a different way, or we should somehow change what those fundamental opportunities kids have, instead of doing that, he got involved. He joined the school board. By the time my younger brother, who's 15 years younger than I am, by the time he got to high school, they had built a new school, and it was winning awards. And for me, that's the central lesson of how New Hampshire works. You've got to lean in, and when you have a skill that you think you can, be put to good use, you get involved. And so, over the course of my career since I moved back in 2004, I've, put my skill and my time and my energy to use in different ways. I was, helped found Stay Work Play and Manchester Young Professionals Group. I served on the board of Families in Transition and with City Year, because I wanted to try and bring more entrepreneurial vigor to those two great entrepreneurial nonprofits. I helped at the Courier, and I helped out New Hampshire Public Radio. And so all these different things, I felt like I had a particular unique set of experiences that could make a difference in these institutions. And that's why when we got through the winter, and I was, we were hanging out with Chris Pappas this winter at an event, and he said, you know what, Gray? So I'm running for Congress, as you may have heard, and now I think that you should think about running for executive council, because you have the business experience that might be able to make an impact. And I thought about that, and I said, boy, that's true. I do think, and then I heard a story of a friend of mine who went to the DMV and waited in line for 2 hours, and I thought, my God, waiting in line. And then I thought to myself, my experience in business and in technology could really have a positive impact. I could use the unique set of skills that I've developed over my career to make a positive impact in state government. And so I decided, what my dad said is, you have to get involved. You got to volunteer. If you have the experience that you think can be helpful to the community, then it's your job to step up. And so that's what I decided to do. And it has been incredibly exciting to be on this campaign, to go out and meet so many people from across this district, which is, I had not been to the Goffstown Pumpkin Regatta, which I don't know if any of you guys have ever been to before, but they carve out giant pumpkins and paddle them down the stream at Goffstown. I had not been to the Pittsfield Balloon Festival, which is excellent. And I'll just say a note of real thanks here, and to say, without you guys, this wouldn't be a house party, because one of my favorite experiences was actually at the Epsom Old Home Day Parade, which I don't know if anyone has been to this before, but you get to Epsom, and then everyone is at this baseball field, which is like a quarter mile to your right, and everyone's kind of lined up here. And what you do, though, instead of going there, you line up with all of your friends, all the other candidates, and you march out into this cornfield for a mile, and no one else is there. And so you march, you're just marching, and then you turn around, you all march, and there's one house that's there, which is where you kind of decide to turn around. but no one was there. And so you march all the way back past the corn with no one there, and then you finally get to the people that you just saw next to the car that you parked. And so ever since that, for all the other Old Home Day parades, whatever I would say, when I'd shake people's hands and say, thank you for being here. That way it's not a parade. And it's funny because I mentioned that to Chris, and he's like, oh yeah, absolutely. You're like, is this really going to help? You know, I'm waving to the corn. But it's been a tremendous experience. But you know, to get a little bit more serious, you know, this race, as Senator Hassan mentioned, is one of critical importance. And it's become even more important since Justice Kavanaugh was appointed. And this seat, this vote, is really where the balance hangs. It hangs in the balance on this seat with respect to the judges, and we're going to have an appointment up next year. What kind of judges? And I think it's a Lynch appointee that's going to come up, which would mean that Governor Sununu, if he's elected, would have 3 people on the court, right, in just a very short time span. This seat, this vote, is going to make the difference on an issue like Planned Parenthood. And we've already known that my opponent has pledged to defund it. And that's why this seat, that's why I'm running hard, that's why it's so incredibly important that you guys are here tonight. Because that's what hangs in the balance. The right of women to make their own healthcare decisions, the right of men and women and teenagers to access healthcare through Planned Parenthood, that's what's on the ballot. So it's critically important, and it's important for that issue, and it's also important for other things that I care about, like commuter rail, right? I mean, the Executive Council is one of the places that, and I think it might have been under your time, when they voted against the $4 million that we could have got to do an engineering study to determine how much it would have cost to brought rail up, which always boggled my mind because it was the same people that said it was going to be too expensive who refused to take the federal funds to find out how much it would cost. Yeah. And I feel like it is something didn't work there. And lastly, you know, I think that we really need to think about how we can modernize state government. And there's a real opportunity to do that. I mentioned the DMV. And you know, at my office in Manchester, we just bought a piece of software that allows global online appointment making, and it costs us $12 a month. Now, I don't know how many people like waiting in line at the DMV. I certainly don't.
Go to Epping. It's much.
Yeah, go to Epping. You can drive to Epping instead of Manchester. But it's small things like that that I think would make state government more efficient. That would you know, improve the perception of citizens, of how their government operates. And I think there's a lot more of those things that I would be excited to work with the commissioners on implementing. So, you know, I think this race really comes down to a choice between some new ideas and old politics. That's really what the choice is between myself and former Mayor Gatsas. So hopefully you guys are with me, that the time is now for new ideas, and that it's really Ted's time. He's past his sell-by date, and he should stay retired and let a new generation of leaders come to make the case that New Hampshire can do more, we can do it together, and we can do it in a way that brings our state together, does not divide us, and that does it with a keen interest and focus on making sure that women have the right to make their own healthcare decisions and have the access to the healthcare they deserve. So thank you guys very much.